Hi everyone, this is Kara. Welcome to Breaking Free Fridays, or welcome back if you've been following this series. It's great to have you here. Today I was guided to talk about top ways to get unstuck. You know, this is such a common experience to feel stuck at times, and it can strike us in so many different ways in life. Today I'm going to actually talk about some pretty deep aspects of how we can get unstuck. So I want to first share one of the biggest things is this willingness and openness with curiosity and gentleness to actually examine ourselves and explore our own thinking, our own patterns, how we actually show up from the framework of our beliefs, how we give meaning to different experiences in life, what we think and what those patterns are. And the reason I bring this up is because sometimes it's easier to blame other people or circumstances for things that are going on, especially if they're challenging things. And it's so empowering to bring that back to ourselves and figure out where the opportunities are for us to shift things, where we have control. Because anytime we blame somebody else or we blame a circumstance, it's actually a way of giving our power away and putting it outside of ourselves instead of embracing other opportunities for us to actually really be empowered. And a lot of this ties back into certain ways that we can actually show up in a state of victimization or even in sabotage mode. But I bring up the victim part because we can't actually be a victim unless we allow it at a certain level. And I'm talking about adults here. So I want to be gentle about this because I myself, in my own life journey, I've experienced some pretty horrific things and been victim to some pretty horrific things. And so I share this from a place of absolute gentleness and absolute understanding, and having been in those places, and also going through enough healing, enough awakening, enough self-development to realize that there's always an opportunity for our own accountability, our own 100% responsibility for how we show up and what we do. And I'm going to give a real mild example of this, but I didn't learn growing up how to really have boundaries. So as a result of that, it was easy to kind of be a walking mat and, feeding into people pleasing and things like that. And as a result, I often overextended, ended up, creating situations where it wasn't really good for me or my health or, something like that. And it was because of a lack of skill, a lack of understanding of boundaries that I was allowing that to happen, but I was allowing those boundaries to not exist. So in realizing that was something that I could reclaim, that was a big step in empowerment. And that's a little bit of a mild example, but it's also one that's very powerful, and we can apply that across the board. The big thing to remember when we're looking at where we can take our empowerment to another level and basically say no more to victimhood is to to be gentle with ourselves, because we do the best that we can in any given moment based on what we know at the time. And it's always easier when we have hindsight to go back and self-reflect and learn from. And so, when we do that, make sure you're doing that from a place of gentleness, basically is the big message there. And then another big piece that I wanted to share is the second top way of getting unstuck. This is another one that goes deep, and it's about secondary gains. So what I mean by that is sometimes we can have a pattern of behavior show up in our life that actually sabotages something else that we want, because we have a secondary benefit from it existing. I'll give you an example from my own life. So previously, when I would be sick, I would realize more experiences of love and nurturing. And so even though, of course, I want to be healthy and I want to be vital and I want to be well, that would be my framework where I wanted to be. But I was still experiencing a lot of sickness. Well, there was an unconscious or subconscious pattern that was going on that was fulfilling a need that I had around love, acceptance, and nurturing. Because at that point in my journey, I hadn't yet developed enough of a relationship with myself and enough strength in my own self-love to be centered in that. And so I was seeking that externally, and in some ways was sabotaging my own journey to health as a result, because of those secondary gains, until I realized, and then I could shift it. So, that's another piece that's really valuable to explore. And then a third one around getting unstuck. This gets into breaking points, right? I mean, everyone has a certain breaking point where they will hit a place where they say, enough is enough. I cannot do this anymore. I can't take this anymore. The pain point will get so strong that a shift has to happen. And you will automatically have the willpower, the motivation, whatever, to make the shift. It can come at a place for different areas of life. It could be in relationships. It could be in health. It could be in finances. It could be in career. It could be in any aspect. But basically, it's kind of like if you were doing an analogy to an alcoholic or an addict that hits rock bottom. It's like we hit a place that's so painful. Staying in the status quo is too much. And the fear of change and the unknown now becomes more palatable. And so you're able to take that leap. You're able to get unstuck. Now, one of the things to think about here, the more that we have regular practices of empowerment and self-awareness and development and healing and spiritual connection and mindfulness and different things to really support our growth and our elevation of our own energetic frequencies, those pain points, we don't have to hit those. We can operate from more of a proactive standpoint, and it's easier to operate from more of a proactive standpoint. So we don't have those drastic and really harsh lessons that make us hit those breaking points so much. So that's another one. And then 4, this is about pattern interrupting and shifting our focus. Now, depending on what you're experiencing, different tools for pattern interrupt may work better than others. So, for example, motion, like physical activity, can be really powerful in just reframing your state of energy, of presence. Smiling when you're down, like just forcing a smile and like moving into that different space, that can be a pattern interrupt. Using your senses. Another thing that's really big to remember is that whenever we're mired in the problem that we don't want to be in, or a challenge that we want to get out of, we can't create a solution in the same energetic space that problem or challenge existed. So one of the big pattern interrupts and opportunities there is to shift our focus and really bring ourselves into a place where we're envisioning and we're feeling what it is that we want, instead of replaying and beating ourselves up about the existence of what it is that we don't want, or where we're stuck. Now, keep in mind, sometimes we may feel so stuck that some of those tools aren't actually accessible in that particular moment. If a person is in a super depressive state, it may be waiting that out and getting into a little bit of a better state of mind before we can actually implement some of these tools. And that's where grace comes in, and a lot of compassion and gentleness for ourselves, realizing and reminding ourselves, even if we're in that place, like this too shall pass. This too shall pass. I think that phrase is so important and so valuable. And then a fifth top way to get unstuck has to do with basically, I want to talk about trauma episodes related to this, because sometimes people's systems are just hijacked, and you like literally may feel stuck, totally shut down emotionally, verbally, mentally. It could exhibit in that way. Or if there's a trauma episode, nervous system like hijack, where your system is either paralyzed or trembling or shaking, or like you just don't have willpower or mental capacity over what the body needs to do in that moment. In those times, reminding yourself that it is going to pass, because that is important, as much as you possibly can, breathing and just being gentle with yourself. Really avoid beating yourself up, because your body and your nervous system are tapped out, and it needs time to release, and allow it that time to release. And know that it will pass, and it will be better, and realize that in terms of getting unstuck in that place, the more powerful and empowered opportunity there is our persistent and continual practices that help increase our nervous system capacity over time, so that we minimize the frequency and the intensity of those kinds of episodes from happening to begin with. And sometimes there's breakthrough ones that just, they may come, especially if you've experienced a lot of trauma, and just remind yourself that it's okay, that that is normal for what your nervous system is experiencing and needs, and there's hope, and there's ways to move beyond and get to the other side. So I hope this has been helpful for you, and if you've liked this video, please subscribe or share the videos. If you'd like to learn more about some of the stuff that I was alluding to related to trauma, I've done some other videos specifically on trauma and techniques and tools and the cost of unresolved trauma. So if you're interested, feel free to check those out too. And I hope you have a great week. And here is to your next level of empowerment and to breaking free. I really honor you, and I'm grateful that you're here, and honor your journey. So talk to you soon. Bye.